Hey folks, this is Nathan Hill from G5 Center. Welcome to my blog. Got a very unusual video. Happen to be in town, the legendary Cameron Kaiser. Think different. Oh, I was off centered. Cameron Kaiser, is that right?
That's right.
Okay, all right. I want to make sure.
Live and in person.
All right, great. Of course, who PowerPC users love because he is the brains behind 10.4 Fox, which is so important to us. So just a quick interview. What was the first Mac you ever owned?
So you can break them in two questions. The first Mac I ever touched was a Mac Plus.
Okay.
This was an 87.
Okay.
My best friend, his dad had actually picked it up. Had a CMS hard disk, 30 megabytes. Of course, we never thought we'd fill that up because nobody ever thinks they do.
Right.
And we ran System 608. And we
Nice.
played lots of games on it. We learned HyperCard, did all the fun stuff on there, Mac Paint, stuff like that. The first Mac I ever actually owned, however, was a used Mac 2SI. It came with a whole bunch of stuff I picked up at a scrapyard. Came with an SE30, which could net boot everything, a couple of 2GSs, but the 2SI was the workstation. I used that to dial into the campus information system. Did some basic browsing over a terminal thing. I was able to get some software on it later, and then from there I moved on to a 7200, 7300, an MDD G4, and now my Quad G5.
Okay, cool. What do you love about your Quad G5?
The thing I like the most about the Quad G5, there's two things. First of all, just on an abstract level, I like programming for PowerPC. My first job before I became a physician was as a system administrator / database analyst, that kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
So I worked partially with HPPA RISC, but also with old IBM AIX servers, which ran the Power architecture, which is the ancestor of PowerPC. So I've had a long history with it. And it was very easy to move forward to it. I think it's a nice instruction set. It's very practical. But from a general view, the reason I still use a Power Mac is I've got tons of Mac software which I've invested in. Sheep Shaver doesn't really cut it. For the programs that work, it works great, but many things it doesn't. And there's lots of great old software that I use that I still use to this day. I don't really want to rebuy it all. I don't like the direction Apple is going. Not a fan of the Mac App Store. I understand the reasons for Gatekeeper and SIP, but that doesn't mean I like them. The G5 and Tiger, I can run everything that I've ever owned before. Almost all my own software programs work. They work better than they ever have. They run really quickly, and it's an architecture that I know and that I understand.
Well, that's the cool thing I found out about Cameron. It was just, I assumed you were some top-notch computer engineering programmer for some company around here, and that you're a physician. It's just all cool. But that's also how it is these days, is that any of us can figure things out and keep sort of our community, keep our computers going and stuff. So that's really cool.
I mean, people really shouldn't be scared of doing that, even though I have some professional experience with it. Anybody could learn. Anybody.
Yeah, that's so cool. All right, so what, in your opinion, do our G5s like? What is the one thing we could use to keep us going into the future?
I think the biggest thing that's going to be a problem, particularly for the Quad, but really any for the liquid-cooled ones, is just that they're so hard to work on. I mean, with my Quad, I changed out the entire processor assembly. I know that there's some brave souls who've emptied it like a radiator and cleaned it out that way. That's a real big pain. I mean, the air-cooled systems, at least you can change the thermal paste. But with the Quad, with the other liquid cools. So if somebody ever comes up with a way where we can convert these liquid-cooled systems to a high-velocity air-cooled one, I think that person's going to make a lot of money.
Well,
there's a challenge for you.
Well, that's a challenge. That's it. All right. Well, cool. Well, it was great to meet you.
My pleasure. Good to meet you too, Nate.